Peace and welcome, Herbalist Lounge October. And tonight's topic is
honoring our native plants and trees. Whoop, whoop. Hey. All right, so we're so glad to have everybody here today. We'll just be discussing this as y'all listen. So, who are we?
who are we? What a good question. We are so many things. Oh my goodness.
So, we are your co-facilitators. So we have Martina. What's up, Martina?
Peace.
We have Lanita. What's up, Lanita?
Whoop, whoop. This the birthday lounge.
Hey.
Happy birthday.
And we have myself, Asia. Hey.
Peace, Asia.
Peace.
All right. So obviously tonight's topic is native plants and trees. So we wanted to start off with saying, what are some native plants in your area? But wait, back up, rewind. Before we do that, we want to honor our green ancestors and our ancestors, the ones that came before us to, open the way for us to continue doing this work that we do. Thank you. Thank you. Green ancestors. Thank you, ancestors. All right. So speaking of green ancestors and just plant allies and relatives, what are some native plants in your area? Asia, do you mind telling us about some native plants in your area?
Yeah. So, and it's like, still getting to know the area. But when I was doing some research, I found some really cool ones. So, definitely beautyberry, which I've always heard you talk about. I've seen it, but not in this area yet. But looking at that, I was like, oh, that is so cool. So I can't wait to run into it. And also witch hazel, which is one of my favorite herbs to use. So there's definitely two different varieties that I saw. So it's the Hamamelius virginiana and the Hamamelius vernalis. And that's pretty cool. Like I love the flowers, and that for me is an ancestral herb because my mom would use witch hazel in place of alcohol sometimes. Like if you had like a little boo-boo or whatever, then she would put it on there. So yeah. But there's a lot more, but those are a couple of them that stood out for me. And I'll talk more about it later. What about you, Lenita?
Well, I'm in Texas and we have this plant called Texas pudweed, but it's known everywhere else as sweet everlasting or life everlasting. Oh, so it is a native plant to America and it has been used by indigenous people for years and years and years and years. And some used to smoke it because it's so good for your lungs and getting rid of bronchitis. Then another plant that I have is willow, a tree. And so we always hear about the weeping willow or the white willow. But I found out somebody came in on my land and told me, oh, you have black willow. So is black willow bad and white willow good? No. White willow is just the weeping willow, and black willow stands straight and tall. And that's what I say. We don't have nothing to cry about. That's why the black willows stand tall. So, the black willow has the acetylsalic acid in the bark, and it is great for lots of things. But I guess we'll get into that deeper. And I'm going to kick it over to Martina. What you got down there in Florida?
Oh my goodness. Over here in Florida, there's a lot of different things. One plant, or let's say tree, that really stood out is the longleaf pine. Longleaf pine is native to Florida, and they're special because when you see pine trees, you know, they all have different shaped cones, some really big, some really small. And then the needles, you got short ones, long ones. Well, the name says longleaf, it's called longleaf pine, but for a reason. These needles can stretch out to 12 plus inches. I've even seen some as long as 18 inches. And that is one of our native pine species. And just learning about the longleaf pine led me to just learning about other types of pine trees. And in that exploration, it started like just naturally through observation. I started learning about how to identify pines and just paying attention to the needles. They come in bundles, they grow in bundles, sometimes threes, sometimes twos. So learning about the longleaf pine helped me with just identification, learning about how to differentiate between different species of pines. And then also learning about, just like we have our pollinators are important. I learned about a lot of species that depend on the longleaf pine, like a particular species of woodpecker that's highly endangered here in Florida due to the loss of longleaf pine habitat. So just that one little exploration looking into longleaf pine, I got to learn about other species of pine, and then also other native bird species that also were endangered. But I also have another story to tell, which I'll get into in a little bit later, you know, a little bit later on here. And it deals with a passion flower species that I actually discovered today. So yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So yeah, we went from South Midwest back to the South to the tropical South. I love it. So yeah, we got a few different areas covered. As y'all were talking, of course, you know, it's just a good reminder, and I'm sure so many people realize this, but you know, we talk about the native plants, and you know what specific area they're native to. But like I was saying, like Southern Illinois, Missouri area, but that doesn't mean that, you know, it's just in this area, because all of these states are just lines, you know, borders that were drawn by humans, but we have to look at the climates. And that's when we talk about, and that's when we can see what stuff is native to certain climates. I think that's important to note as well.
Wait, Asia, you mean plants don't recognize state borders?
I
Wait,
mean,
okay. But I like what you said. That's a really good point. But they do recognize climate, temperature, and changes in environment. So thank you for bringing that up.
But what they don't recognize is that zone chart.
Mm.
Because I'm a zone 8. Asia, what zone are you in?
I think I'm a 9.
No, you got to be smaller than that.
Maybe. Let me hold on. Let me find out again. Because I knew, but I don't know right now.
Martina, what zone are you in?
9, A, B, C,
Right.
D, E, F, G.
Mhm.
I'm telling you, we got so many microclimates over here, but yeah,
Yeah, but you're closer to tropical than we are.
most definitely.
Yeah.
And then the further
But
south you go, it gets very tropical. You can grow all kinds of stuff in South Florida.
right. But Asia, you have beautyberry, and I have
Um,
beautyberry too.
In Florida, we have beautyberry, so 3 places. And I'm
Mhm.
curious because right now our beautyberry is fruiting. So I'm curious to know, is it fruiting in Asia's area right now, or has it already fruited? Like what stage is it in, you know? In Texas, is it fruiting right now, Lenita?
No, we had drought, so we didn't get any
Gotcha.
berries this year. We barely got leaves.
Mm.
hmm,
But one that I think Asia was talking about that we have is the goldenrod, and our
hmm,
goldenrod is flowering now.
yes.
Oh yeah, we got the goldenrod as well.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
and the goldenrod was flowering in Germany last month.
Mm-hmm. You know, I was just up in Michigan where it just, I mean, the temperatures just took a dive. So it was in, at the beginning of the week, it was in the 70s, 60s. And then by the time I left, it was in the 40s, like mid 40s. But
Ooh.
that goldenrod, I mean, I had
Mhm.
not seen so many flowers on the highway except for in Texas because, you know, it's specific. But like the goldenrod, you be driving down the highway and you just see it all in the middle, like in the median, you know, like where the cars go opposite. Um, and it was just
It's so
filled
pretty.
with goldenrod. And I was just like, oh my goodness, this is
Mhm.
nice.
It's pretty.
It
Yeah.
is beautiful. And you know, with the goldenrod, it's pollinate, well, it's the seeds are dispersed by the wind. It just makes me think of like how prolific goldenrod is, especially hearing it's in all of our areas, all the way over in Germany. It's on the
Mhm.
highways. So goldenrod, I learned recently that it has a rhizome, so it grows lateral as well. So I was like, wow. But I'm grateful. I'm not mad. And um speaking of that, what we call goldenrod native, adaptable, or invasive down here, they don't necessarily consider goldenrod invasive.
Mhm.
Be something to look into, but definitely adaptable. Not sure of the origins. Do any of you all know the origin or what is said to be the origins of, well, you know what I'm saying? Like, who really knows, right?
Mhm.
That's a good question.
Well, I know the goldenrod has been used for centuries here in the US.
Mm,
So whether it was native to the US or it was brought, it's been here a long time. So now we're gonna give it its immigration papers and naturalize it. It's a
it's
native.
been naturalized. Boom.
Well, I see. Okay, so I just, you know, just to verify, it's saying what they are saying is that it's native to North America, though a few species grow in Europe and Asia. So there we go.
Nice.
And there's about 60 species just in North America.
And they have a campaign in Germany to bring the bees back. And I'm telling you, the goldenrods were covered with bees. And the sunflowers, oh my goodness. All you could hear was bees all in the sunflowers. So their campaign is working.
That's what's up. I love that. Matter of fact, we have some slides here to talk about some bees in a moment, Lanita,
Okay.
and how important bees are, especially when we're talking about native plants. So I would love to hear more about that and just talk a little bit more about bees. If you all don't mind, I'm gonna go ahead and share my little exploration today, and then we can get to the bee slides.
Mhm.
Let me see here. So I took these pictures today, literally. I was talking to my Spice Sisters, aka Lanita and Asia, the day before, and I'm like, I'm gonna go out and explore. So I'm just sitting out here on the deck, and I noticed this little wasp, and I'm like, what are you doing? You know, usually when you see a wasp, they're on maybe a flowering plant, or well, that's what I've noticed, and or maybe where it's building its home or collecting materials. So I just started observing the wasp, and I'm looking at them. I'm looking at them. There were two of them actually. And all of a sudden, it's like it was trying to pull my attention to the leaf. I looked at the leaf and I'm like, I know this leaf. This leaf reminds me of something, but I couldn't pinpoint it, you know? So then I looked down at the floor and you see that circle with the arrow. I saw a little flower, y'all, and that flower was probably smaller than a dime. And that's why I was like, let me take a picture of it with my hand so you can see literally how small it is. It was like the size of my fingernail. So when I look at the flower, oh my goodness. So I did a little close up of the flower. I was like, yo, this is a passion flower. This is a species of passion flower. Of course, I got super excited. Right away, I started messaging Asia, Lanita. I'm like, oh my gosh, guys, I found a new species. Well, I didn't find a new species, but for myself, this was new for me. And I took out my Seek app, which is an app that, you know, you can download on your phone. And I naturalist Seek. I was like, let me see if it'll pick it up. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. When it works, it's great. When it doesn't, you can use other things to be able to help you identify. So if you look at the top picture, do you see how it just says passion flower all over it, right? It's super small, but if you're familiar with passion flower, and I am, because Florida has so many species of passion flowers, but most of the species of passion flowers I've seen probably are like at least 3 to 4 inches diameter, at least that, right? So I'm like, wow, this is super small and such a discreet flower. But I recognize the tendrils. Then I look back at the leaves and I said, you know what? These are passion flower leaves. They look like little mittens. Some of them had 2 lobes. Some of them had 3. So when I looked it up, it's called Passiflora suberosa. And it is considered native here to Florida. So I was like, okay, that's dope. I was doing some research online, and there's a website called there's an organization called Florida Native Plant Society. And I've heard of them before because they kind of promote them at the local botanical gardens, but they have different chapters. And what a coincidence that the chapter I took a screenshot of, y'all, was the beautyberry chapter. So different, I guess, counties or areas, maybe growing zones have different chapters, but I was like, oh, look, the beautyberry chapter. But from that website, I just went down a rabbit hole and I started learning a lot about this specific species of passion flower. So it is said to be native to Florida, but what I found interesting was it's all over Latin America. And then in Sri Lanka, they use it in herbalism. And I have to look more into that as well. So, and I'm excited about it, but that's how it all starts. You're just out exploring and don't even expect to find something. Sometimes the plants find you. And here I am now going on a rabbit hole. And I look at it as an adventure. I'm excited because I'm learning about a new species of passion flower. And the questions I have right now are, okay, if it's native to Florida, but they use it in Sri Lanka for herbalism, how has this plant traveled? Where has this plant journeyed, right? And I found that it's a great ground cover. It's a very important species for pollinators. And last but not least, what was super dope, and I didn't put a picture here, is their fruits. The fruits are edible, like some other species of passion flower, but they're small, real small fruits, just as small as the flower, and they turn black. And when I saw the picture, has this ever happened to anybody where you see something and you're like, yo, I've seen that before, but I had no idea that was the fruit to this passion flower. So I thought they were like those little climbing cucumbers, those little small black melons. But
Creeping cucumbers.
cucumbers, I thought they were some type of like little creeping cucumber. And I was like, oh, and I've seen them before. Come to find out, they were the fruits of this variety of passion flower. And I was like, wow, well, what do you know? So there you go. Learn something new every day just through exploring and looking at insects. So I'm excited to learn more about it, how it's used for herbalism. I've heard it's used for menstruation as a decoction, and there's so many different applications. But I know passion flower as a nervine herb, and also externally, like for insect bites and wounds. So this is, exciting to learn more as, we just keep on with the journey. So I thought I'd share that with y'all today, since it happened today as well.
So Martina, that one is called the corkscrew, and its tendrils look like they curl around. I've seen passion flower before, but I didn't notice it as a creeping vine or, a hold on vine. Are the big ones real vining like that? Do they send out tendrils?
Oh yeah, the big ones that's how I can recognize them. They have those big old tendrils. These are like you just said, corky screw. They're not as quirky and coily as this one, but they're big and coily. And you see them out here in Florida, like on telephone poles. They'll take over a tree. I have one on my family's land that they take over all the palm trees and grow up high in the sky. So yeah.
Yeah, they used to like take over because I had tree collards in my garden when I was in California, and so they would grow right up the vine with the tree collard,
Mm.
Cool.
Um, Martina, when you first showed the picture of the leaves, to me, I was like, oh, that's like a hibiscus leaf.
Yeah. And
Some
they
of the
have
hibiscus leaves
variation.
are big like that. Yeah.
And that's what threw me off, Lanita, because I was like, these leaves are so big and they're beautiful. And it was like a
Mhm.
creeper. I thought it was a type of ivy, to be honest with you. I was like, oh, some type of ivy's growing over here. And when I looked closer, it wasn't, it was a vine. And when I saw that flower, it was a wrap. But with this species, they were saying that it doesn't have petals, it just has the sepals. So, and it's just a discrete green, but it was saying in the readings that I found, it was like, don't be fooled by its small appearance because it will take over quickly. It's a climber. So,
I
but
don't
it's
suppose you tasted those leaves.
no, I did not. No, I did not. But they are edible. Supposedly they're edible and they have been used as food and as medicine. So I'm looking forward to learning more about it. I'm gonna start talking to some people around here who probably worked with it a little more and just do some more research. But you will get an update.
I would have been out there chewing on the leaves.
I know you would have. Don't get me started. Don't get me started. Oh, I love it. All right. Well, thank you for letting me share that, y'all. I was super excited. Um,
Mhm.
we have a slide about some bees. You want to talk do you want to talk more about the bees, Lanita? Over
Well, it was really fascinating in Germany to see they were painting bee and flower murals on the side of tall apartment buildings. They had bees everywhere and signs um, at the bus stop saying bees are our friends and bees are nice. So they really are trying to convince people that they like bees. Um, but I did see a lot of flowers blooming as fall came a little bit earlier there than it has here. They were already, their fall flowers were blooming and there was lots of bees. So they working.
Yay.
But when you talk about native pollinators, last year I brought some seeds from Senegal and I grew the Senna occidentalis and the Senna alata. And we had the most beautiful pollinators. I have never seen wasps that are blue and black. They had all these colors on them. They were so pretty. And then we had all kinds of bees, different sizes. So I'm thinking that now we have these plants, the Senna occidentalis grew back. So now it's native to Texas. Um, I'm wondering if we're going to get these creative pollinators. I know, Martina, I talked to you and you said you had some of those colorful bees and wasps in Florida. Asia, did you have colorful pollinators in Hawaii?
Everything is colorful in Hawaii.
Yeah, so these pollinators follow the plants too. So when people say they don't have any pollinators, it's because you killed all the plants. The plants go where the food is. So, everything is not a weed. Something, all of them are volunteers. They just may volunteer more than we need.
Mm-hmm.
I like that perspective. Some of them just volunteer more than what we need. And so then like those are the ones that, they can also volunteer, for uses as well. I always think the message there is if something is growing in abundance, we're still respectful as humans, but if something is growing in abundance, then that could possibly give us permission to partake in that if it is for us to partake. So, if I see like a field of dandelions, and it's just there and available, that is a sign for me after getting permission, of course, but that's a sign for me that this is something that I can partake in, and not worry about killing out the population of those said dandelions. So I like that.
I have an accumulation of cocklebur,
Mhm.
which is the cousin to burdock, but I can't get rid of it. And unfortunately, it torments my dogs. I have long haired dogs, Great Pyrenees, and those prickly seeds are all over them. Um, and they're so painful. But you can cut it, it still comes back. You dig up the roots, everywhere those seeds are sticking on the dogs, they're growing.
Mm.
So that's one volunteer that I could really live without.
Doesn't play nice, in other words.
It does not with long haired dogs.
Yeah, I remember seeing them. Mm-mm. But yeah, but I mean, another reason why we brought this in to talk about like pollinators and different things is because again, um, definitely without the pollinators, you don't have those native plants. You don't have those pollinators to spread around the seeds and the different pollen and to have them to mate and it doesn't exist anymore. So it's always important that yes, we're herbalists focusing on herbs and trees and good medicines, but also the other beings that help to cultivate those things. So it's always good to focus on the larger picture as well.
Most definitely.
And that also some plants grow in different regions and then they don't in others. And it's not that they don't need them, it's that you have something else that may address that. For example, here we have stinging nettle. Stinging nettle, people think it's a annoying plant, but it actually is a great antihistamine. And in other places, they don't have the nettle, but they may have plantain. So, which is still another great antihistamine. And different regions have different plants that may do the same thing. So it's important to know what's in your area. Or if you're like the three of us spice sisters that are all over the place, you get to know what's in other region too.
Hmm. Most definitely. And there there goes some of those colorful pollinators right there. So, and this is just talking about bees and how there's maybe over 4,000 species of native bees. So, I mean, just look at all the variety there. And I mean, Martina, earlier you were talking about a wasp, you know. So there's different species and not just bees, but I mean there's butterflies and moths and what is the other the
Have y'all ever seen a hummingbird moth?
yes. Oh no.
A
It's like
hummingbird
something
moth
out of,
is
I was about to
beautiful.
yeah, but it
ooh.
looks like something out of a sci-fi.
Yes, I love those. And I love the Luna moths too. Oh my goodness. Beautiful. Beautiful. Super big, colorful, like giant kites almost. Hmm. As we're looking at these bees,
Mm.
I was so excited when we were doing the community garden a few years ago that I had first saw these green bees, this green bee right in the center. And I'm telling you, I've seen it before, but I assumed it was like a fly, I was like, oh, that's some type of green fly. And took a closer look and I'm like, oh my goodness, it's a bee. And of course I'm getting all excited, like, today when I saw the passion flower. Um, but it was so interesting because the students that were at the local schools, they were doing a whole thing like they were kind of doing in Germany, Lanita, with bringing forth information about native pollinators and the importance of them. And we learned so much, and just how the honeybee, for example, is not native to here, and that was something a lot of people were surprised because, we always talk about honey. Honey is delicious. Oh, I love honey. Come on, who doesn't love? I mean, there's a lot of people who don't love honey, but I love honey. Just like I love avocados and some people hate avocados, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with you? But with the honey, it's like, you know, all these healing properties. And then we have the honeybees, and we go around, and especially in Florida, where there's a lot of conventional farming, and you know, there's a lot of other types of farming, more so now too, that you're starting to see. But you see the people set up the bees so they can get their um the farm, whatever they're growing, they can have pollinators there to pollinate the flowers so that they can have, you know, their fruits and they can sell. But what I found that was so intriguing was the importance of native plants, once again, because they attract the native pollinators. And we were learning about how, if you look at these bees on this page, they all have different morphology, different body parts and mouthpieces and structures and whatnot. And we were learning about how specific native bees, or native, not just bees, but native pollinators, like Lanita was saying with the moths, or like Asia was talking about, even the wasp, their mouth parts literally are like a lock and key with certain species of flowers, certain species of plants, where they have to have that. And it's best for those plants to be pollinated by certain native pollinators. So I just thought that was just a beautiful thing. And another reason why it's important for us to, you know, grow those native pollinators, grow native plants, honor native trees. And like Lanita said, maybe you will start seeing more diverse species come around in your ecosystem, your local ecosystem.
Well, Martina, I'm one of those weirdos that don't like honey. Uh,
What about avocado?
I like avocado, but I just started eating them in the last 10 years. So, but a lot of honey actually makes me more congested. We're supposed to help with allergies and stuff.
Yeah.
But my brother-in-law has honeybees in Senegal, and he's in Tambacounda, which is the southern part of Senegal, and he's right on the Gambia River. And their honey is so good. It
Mm.
tastes like maple syrup. It's real dark, and it's just so sweet. It really tastes just like maple syrup. So that honey, I really like.
It's
But
not
I'm
that you don't like honey, Lanita. You just didn't have the right type of honey.
exactly. And I'm wondering if I get the plants that are in that area, if I have bees to, pollinate them, can I get that flavor of honey?
Yeah, that's interesting, because here, what's very popular out here is orange blossom honey, because you know they grow a lot of citrus out here, a lot of oranges.
Mhm.
I'm like, I want some other type of honey, because you know I like orange blossom honey, it's good, but there are so many different other varieties and overabundance of orange blossom honey here. So, and that ties hand in hand with pesticides and killing off the native pollinators, unfortunately, you know, in conventional farming, and you kind of see all that. But yeah, that's a good point, because different flavors of honey, different species of plants, and different properties all tied in. I love it. I want some of that honey you're talking about from Senegal. We got to
Oh,
get
I'm
that.
gonna make sure y'all are able to get plenty of it.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
So, do y'all have any native plants that your ancestors may have used, um, or that you're aware of? I think, Asia, you talked about one that your grandfather
Mhm.
used. It was called the Tree of Life.
No, no. Life everlasting. So the one that you were talking
Oh,
about, yes.
yeah.
Yeah, my grandmother would have my mom go pick it because my mother had asthma.
Mm-hmm.
So she would, like, anytime her chest would tighten up, she would get her to go outside and go pull it so that she could make her a tea.
Okay.
That was in Georgia,
I was
Savannah.
about to ask you the region.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's another form of cudweed um, that they use. And I found that a lot of places have trees called um, healing or never die, life everlasting, the tree of life. There
Leaf
are
life.
multiple places. Mhm.
Mm. I always remember that story that Asia tells too. And then the only thing that they had to go get was like the salt and the pepper. Mm.
That is it.
Yeah. Martina, what about you? You got any ancestral plants?
Yeah, let me tell you about my great grandmama Tugs. And I had visited them for the first time, probably like when I was in my late teens, early 20s. And this was in Georgia. My first time out there in the country in Georgia. We ain't talking about the city in Atlanta. We're talking about out in the country. And I happened to come at a time that was known as the killing of the hog. And we were just talking about this whole thing, like having the whole hog on the table with the apple in the mouth. But what was so amazing was my great grandmother, who was 6 foot tall at 94 years old at that time. And I saw where I got my height from. Okay. She had a field full of collards and peach trees. And she used the peach leaves and she made tea from them, and did all kinds of stuff with it. Like I heard it was good for your bones. It's good for your bones. And yeah, so on that side, it was something I discovered later on because my family migrated. Well, that side of the family ended up migrating out west, but yeah, peach leaves, not the fruit, the leaves as tea. So it was a way for me to connect back to my ancestral plant usage.
You talking about leaves? I just found out that sunflower leaves, the leaves can be used for tea. People actually ate them as greens, which you can see because the leaves are pretty big. And then also you can bake them and make chips, like kale chips out of them. And then the sunflower is also good for detoxifying the soil, for those soils that have been contaminated with pesticides, other chemicals. You plant sunflowers and that helps to neutralize it and bring the regular nutrients back to the soil.
I love that. That was definitely new to me.
Mm-hmm. And you were talking about trees. The grandmother used, when you talk about trees, I only think about the fig tree, and she liked those as switches.
Oh, let's not talk about the switches, boy. My butt's starting to sting right now.
Look,
You take them good little
Don't get the little
leaves
thin ones.
off
Nope.
the fig tree, peel them off.
Ooh.
Ooh.
All right, trigger warning. I'm about to ease up out of here now. All I remember was having to go get a limb off the tree, and I had my Cabbage Patch doll in my hand. Like, what did I do? What did I do? Oh,
But now we had magnolia trees. Martina, I know you said you've just inherited a magnolia tree. Now
yes.
those are beautiful. The flowers, oh, they smell good in the spring.
Mm-hmm. I'm so curious now, just after watching the squirrels eat the seed pods up like corn on the cob, literally. They've been going crazy. Now I'm over here like, let me go ahead and roast me some seed pods over here.
Yeah.
Y'all gonna come over for dinner, and I'm gonna be having, instead of corn on the cob, I'm gonna have magnolia seed pods.
yes.
Okay.
Those are pretty. They have, some of them have red seeds in those little cobs. They are
Yes, they're
beautiful.
beautiful. Like honestly, when I see them, I think of art. Like, what can I do with these seeds? Because I have a bunch of seeds I've collected, like a lot from Jamaica, and they have a bunch of these beautiful seeds that some of the maroon healers would use. A lot of them would use in just making necklaces and things like that, hair pieces. And when I saw those magnolia seeds, I was like, I'm about to make me some jewelry, Florida style over here. So just watch out, y'all. I'm gonna come up with a jewelry line. I'm gonna make something for you, Asia. Some earrings. Lanita, I got you to wear one of your beautiful crochet tops, okay?
Right. You know that you can also make mosaics out of the different seeds, different color seeds. I've
Yes.
seen some work done with different Native American corns, all
Mm,
the different corn kernels, done a mosaic with that.
that would be super fun to do with the children. That they would
Mhm.
love that. Yes.
Mhm.
So,
I just want to acknowledge Kiana. Hi, Kiana.
Yeah. Greetings, Kiana. We have a herb guest, Kiana. All right. So here on this screen, guys, we have some just resources, a lot about wildflowers, pollinators. That first link is specifically to find native plants. So that very first one, you can put your location and you can find out local native plants in your area. So that's some useful resources, or you can just do it the thuggish way and go out there and see what you find and start doing some research, see where it takes you. So yeah.
um, also, Martine, you talking about the thuggish way. I was thinking about as you go out there, you can also check what kind of mosquitoes or bees you have. A lot of the cure for the insect bites is in that area too. So
Yes.
when you find out what kind of vermin that you have, what may bite you or sting you, you can see the plants that may be good for that.
That's the message I needed to hear because I know, I don't know if I told y'all. I mean, I must have told y'all about the mosquitoes out here lately. Because Lanita, you said you're getting cooler weather right now in Texas. Well, I'm getting cooler weather here too, but you said that the mosquitoes are going away. Our
Mhm.
mosquitoes are not going away. Okay. All right. I don't know. And I've been getting bit up. It's crazy over here. So that's the answer right there. It's like, hello, I'm all over the ground. I'm all over the place. Kind of like Asia said, be respectful. But when I was looking into it, I did see insect bites. So I'm gonna look a little deeper, and I'm gonna be like Lanita. You know, I might
Mhm.
start. I mean, I don't know if I'm gonna start eating the leaves, but I'm definitely gonna mash them up and maybe make some paste or whatnot. And
Uh-huh.
I'll try it out on one of my friends first. No, I'm just playing.
Well, you like poultices.
Oh yeah, for sure. So we'll make some
Please
poultice.
make a good poultice. And
Mm-hmm.
you can see, especially before the kids start scratching on them or scratching themselves.
Yeah, that can be an itch serum, and that's with also the beautyberry. It's well known to help out with mosquitoes to make a strong decoction of that. And Asia, you were mentioning that witch hazel and the
Mhm.
beautyberry. Do you have anything else to add on about that? Because that just sounded really exciting, especially witch hazel. I have never seen, me personally, I haven't seen it here in Florida. Not to say it doesn't exist, it could, and you see all kinds of things out here. But I personally haven't seen it since I was in the Northeast. So, witch hazel is an amazing um, ally.
Yeah, witch hazel, that's another one that, my family has used ancestrally. Like that's just a staple in the house. Like you got a picture of Martin Luther King on the wall, you got witch hazel in your house. Like that's part of the culture. But but definitely, witch hazel is astringent. So, I told about my first experiences with witch hazel. I really didn't like alcohol, and as a kid, I would get bruised up and scratched up, and so I would hate when my mom would take out that alcohol. Like, please use peroxide or witch hazel because it didn't burn me like alcohol. So she always would have that on hand too. But maybe we did Herbalist Lounge like you on Witch Hazel. I feel like we did because some of it just feels familiar when we're talking about the uses. So, like I was saying, it's astringent, but definitely tightening and toning skin. That's always a great thing. So, as I got older and got into the whole beauty thing, and I would definitely use like witch hazel toner on my face and on my skin. But then like there's other uses for like hemorrhoids. We always talk about cayenne for hemorrhoids, but definitely tightening and toning that area and bringing relief. But we just talked about the bug bites, so anti-inflammatory and helping those or antihistamine and helping those stings go down. So yeah, there's so many things that witch hazel is for. And I haven't used it internally, but I looked up another use in soothing the sore throat. So again, staunching out like any germs and bacteria, and still helping to bring healing in that area as well too.
And you know what I remember witch hazel for? It's the best if you got adolescents in your house. Get them to clean them face, and
Mm-hmm.
then use the witch hazel as a toner after cleaning.
Mm-hmm.
Close those pores back up. It's really good on acne.
Yes. Yes. I love me a good witch hazel toner with roses always.
Oh my goodness, not the roses. Come on now. Yes.
And
It is
it's not
so funny
expensive,
because
that stuff at the beauty stores.
it is so true. It's so funny we make those connections because whenever I'm explaining like the actions of tannins and how they have that astringent nature, I'm like, witch hazel. Witch hazel and some people, a lot of people know what witch hazel is, especially the bottled distilled version. But some people be like, no, what is that? I'm like, the toner this for your face to help close the pores after you wash it. Oh yeah. So I've made so many connections with people and they're like, oh, the toner. Oh yeah, that gets it nice and firm. And another funny story is I remember being in like Walmart or something, and this lady was in the aisle and she's like, girl, I got to get that preparation H. And then the person, her daughter was with her and she's like kind of embarrassed. And I'm just like, whatever. Preparation H is, I believe, for hemorrhoids, right? So the lady goes, honey, let me tell you my secret. My secret is this is good for the puffs under your eye. And then her daughter was like horrified. And then I did something crazy. I'm like, oh, thank you. Shoot. I was like, let me go ahead and grab me some. And it was just so funny. But just hearing us talk about beauty, the puffiness under your eye, and Asia mentioned like the hemorrhoids, and there's so many applications, but it's doing that same thing, but different parts of the body, and the mucous membranes of your throat, using it as a gargle, having that protective barrier and all that. So I love it.
Yeah, and then Kiana also added something. So she said she loves recommending witch hazel for gentle yoni care during postpartum, which makes
Postpartum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm
Hey,
still
Kiana, what's native to the Northwest?
she's probably typing right now.
Right. I know in California, they have white sage and poppies and Joshua tree. I love Joshua tree.
I love it too.
Those poppies are just beautiful. They just, even when I was like in the Bay Area, they would just grow. And even in El Paso, they would grow. But in California, they were prolific. Again, I don't know. I guess going down the highway is one way that I always look at plants, of course. But going down the highway, I think, when was it? Oh, was it? It was definitely spring, summer. I'll say that because I can't remember the month specifically now. But definitely spring, summer, you would see so many things. But poppies, that was one of them, just growing everywhere, going down the highway and on hikes. Definitely a beautiful plant. And just just as much as it lifted my spirits to see it, of course, we know poppy seeds help to modulate the moods, and people have used it in the past for, or currently even for depression, to help to lift the spirits or to even balance out your mood and, your mind state and just different things like that. So yeah, poppies are excellent.
Mm. You were talking about mood. I was reading a book on it's called African American Herbalism, and they were talking about hoodoo. And St. John's wort was all in there for doing a lot of hoodoo work. Witch
Mm.
hazel was in there. Um, they had some other plants that, were normally used, but mainly for getting your mood um up. If you felt like people were against you, that was one, St. John's wort. And then they have one called John the Conqueror root.
Mhm.
Does anybody know what plant that actually is?
I know it's a powerful one though, because I've heard it, but I
Yes.
can't remember. So go ahead, tell us.
But John the Conqueror root, they use that a lot in the legal hoodoo for people that are going to court. That practitioner would make a little bag for them to wear on them. And then he would sit in the back room, and it was like he was giving the judge ideas or putting these words into the judge's head not to convict you. So it supposedly worked. A lot of people pay that hoodoo man a lot of money to keep them out of trouble. Um, so a lot of the herbs have been traditionally used by our ancestors, not only just for ingesting, but also for different practices.
Mhm. Makes me think of garlic, hanging garlic up at the door,
Mm-hmm.
or even onion.
Mm-hmm.
Kiana has shared some native plants to the northwest in the chat here. Sword fern.
Mm.
There's so many different types of ferns. I would love to see that one. Stinging nettles, Lanita.
Mm-hmm.
Huckleberries. Makes me think of Huckleberry Finn. Northwest maples, big leaf maple.
Mm-hmm.
And real dandelions, not them fake ones.
We have fake ones. Yeah.
So, you know
I
what,
think one that
Kiana?
I saw in Washington too was miner's lettuce
Ooh,
on the
yeah.
Maple Height. It
Oh
tastes
yeah.
good.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah. I was so stoked. Here we
Y'all, I finally got the mic to work.
Yay! Go for it, Kiana.
Yay.
Hi.
Oh, friends.
Hey there.
Yeah, I did a Indigenous childbirth education class, and one that's unique to the Northwest with the Cowlix people is the camas, and they would use it for like a therapeutic honey, just for like a kind of like a slippery elm, but for sore throats.
Oh,
And
lovely.
it's a prairie flower that's native to Washington State.
Okay.
And y'all have lots of ferns, all different kinds of ferns, right?
Tons. And
Yeah.
y'all, you'll have to Matthew's listening in and he's like, "Hey, wait, add this one too." So I didn't make that list by myself. We're both on doing this.
Hey, peace. Nice.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hey there.
Well, that's cool. Thank y'all for those additions.
For real. And sharing that indigenous childbirth information, Kiana, that's dope. When you were mentioning the maples, that's another tree that's native here to Florida. We have red maples. They're not, the leaves aren't as big, but they have these really pretty red tips when they come and when they're young. So I know people do tap maple syrup from it. It's not as popular, but you can. So
Yeah, Matthew and I tried to research tapping. There was a cold spell in Washington, but we had just missed the tail end. But even then, so not too many people tap in Washington because it just doesn't get cold enough. But Alberta, which is not too far from us, gets cold enough for, Canadian maple syrup.
Right, because I know they have the red leaf also in the Northeast, and they tap a lot more, and it's probably what you said, a temperature reason. So makes a lot of sense.
That maple syrup, do y'all know that stuff is more expensive than crude oil? They have people guarding the maple syrup in Canada.
Yes, I think you told us that. I heard it somewhere.
That's probably why they have so much fake maple syrup out here, and they even have the fake, like the fake honey instead of honey, HONEY, HONEE. Y'all better read those ingredients. We're trying to trick someone.
Right, that's so wrong.
That is wrong, Kiana. And then they put it in a cute honey bear for the children. Ooh, I want the one in the bear, mama. And I'm like, oh,
right, got him.
Got him.
And what's so wild about them, similarly with honey, once you taste real honey or real maple syrup, you can never not have the real thing.
Mm-hmm. You're right about that. Nothing like the real thing, baby.
Oh, I feel a song coming on, y'all. No.
Is that royalty?
Dandelion syrups, Asia? Dandelion bitter syrup? Huh? Anybody?
All right.
It got quiet. At least he said something.
I mean, but that is, one of the bitters that I can mess with. Dandelion, I can do dandelion all day.
I'm gonna make it nice and tasty. Watch, you're gonna like it.
You gonna do what?
I'm gonna make it nice and tasty. I'm gonna have pancakes with dandelion syrup and magnolia seed cone on the cob for y'all when you come. Kiana, you're invited too. I'm gonna have like a little,
oh my goodness, don't
native
play.
plant barbecue over here.
Yes.
Matthew and I made dandelion bread
syrup too.
Dandelion breads. I heard dandelion breads.
And Martina, we want you to throw in some lavender syrup.
Yes. Oh, how can I forget that dope lavender syrup? If y'all don't know, by the way, if you're listening to this on YouTube later on, check out that video that Lady Lavender did on lavender syrup.
Yes.
That does sound good. And it
lavender can be a bitter too sometimes.
Kiana,
tell us more about this dandelion bread.
Yes, please.
Yes. So at the farm in Washington, there's just such an abundance of the dandelion. Unfortunately, Mr. Gary doesn't spray, and they're far enough away that if anybody were to spray washing it would be very small trace amounts. So just washing it and doing a great wash on them, you don't have to worry about pesticides or anything or weed killers. But dandelion, the real dandelion, because Blackland, we don't have the real dandelion. We got the dandelion. But dandelion root as well as, and then the coffee alternative part to it. There's just so many benefits. So I essentially just mashed up the flowers and kind of folded it in the way that you would for like a banana bread or zucchini bread. And then I did brown sugar, so kind of like a banana bread recipe or a pound cake recipe, but brown sugar instead of white sugar. And it was awesome. It was like almost like a breakfast pastry. And then Asia, you'll appreciate this. I took lavender tea and made a simple frosting and infused it with the lavender tea. So it was actually a lavender and dandelion bread.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, and Matthew said vitamin C. And it helps your regulatory system. So if you eat it in the day, in the morning, it helps kind of get your system moving.
Now that's a way to have your dandelion. That's a way to combine your bitters and your lavender, Asia. We can come together, Asia. We can come together. That sounds delicious, Kiana. You got to start a little recipe book. That's dope.
Don't play. You already know.
I'm gonna be the first one getting that book. Okay, I'm gonna need my little signature though. That's cool.
We ate some other bitters. What did we eat? Oh, the curly dock.
Mm.
Oh
We
yeah.
cooked at curly dock, and there are some really good greens. Or
Yeah.
resilience meals. We don't call them struggle meals anymore.
And Miss Lanita makes a mean curly dock. She's shown me how to repurpose both curly dock, swamp dock, or sheep sorrel, and as well as the poke salad to use it as for resilience meals.
Mm.
I know her about that. I know that poke salad is so good. Mm-hmm.
We walk around Black Line just like cows, just pulling leaves and eating stuff.
So Lanita, is I don't know, I'm a little sad. Is the dandelion bread gonna replace the Martha White cornbread?
Well, mix it in.
It's
Never.
okay. We're gonna mix it
Never.
together. Thank you, Kiana. No. Oh,
So,
too much.
but I don't know that hibiscus leaves might replace everything. Ooh, the hibiscus leaves is good.
From the hair to the toe, for real.
Mhm.
Mm.
But I think we've covered almost every region now.
I
We
think
got
so,
Northeast,
too.
Northwest, Southeast,
Kiana came
Midwest.
in at the right time. You see that? We did a whole 360. I love
That's it.
that.
Nice.
Well, let me go ahead and go on the last slide here. Oh my gosh, that picture is so dope. That's
Mhm.
a beetle.
Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful.
Is that a Spanish needle, Asia? Look at that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Astor family in the house tonight.
Sure is representing.
Yeah. Oh, it's right there. Delta flower beetle. Hi. Is that a bee? Hi, one of the hosts of the Herbalist Lounge. Is that? We put it there for your convenience.
He looks like he has on a suit.
Mhm. I like that. That's cool. Do we have any upcoming events that we want to share? Kiana, do you have anything you want to share or anything that's going on in anybody's neighborhood? Upcoming event.
Yes. At the end of the month, Blackland Ranch is having a Halloween fun event. So essentially it's like a Halloween field day. There will be games, pumpkin painting, and it's free for the public. So just a way of showing gratitude and wanting to share the land with folks.
Beautiful.
And that's at the end of the month.
Nice.
Okay, thank you.
So if you in around the Texas area, or you want to travel to North Texas, come on down.
All right, nice.
All right. Again, so we have a YouTube channel. You're probably watching this on YouTube right now. So just after the Herbalist Lounge, mosey on over and check out all those other videos that we have available for you to watch. They're tons of fun, super informational, and of course, you can share them with your friends, family, and community. Oh, and yeah, it's at Herbalist Lounge when you type it in YouTube.
Also, if you want some more kitchen medicine making, we might have to go ahead and throw in that dandelion bread in there too. That's an extra special one. If you like recipes like the one you heard from Kiana, then I'm gonna tell you this kitchen medicine making workshop is for you. So you'll learn how to turn culinary spices into kitchen remedies. Not just remedies but nourishing meals. We did so many different things, and the beautiful thing about it was facilitated and presented by the three Spice sisters, myself, Martina, Asia, and Lanita, and we all brought our own spice and shared different remedies. I mean, we had everything from herbal syrups and bitters, medicinal mushrooms and making broths out of them, all the way over to medicinal herbal popsicles. Okay. Yes, I said it, popsicles. So if this is something that sounds up your line, or someone that may be interested in this, it would be a great gift, but you can purchase it online. The address is right there on the screen, herbalist-lounge.thinkific.com. So yeah, that would be something to look into. Does anybody else want to add anything else in regards to this? Or are we good?
You know, I'm reading a book called The Native American Herbal Bible, and it was funny that they listed popsicles in there. And I was like, yes, we have that in our class.
And I remember when we were building on this kitchen medicine making workshop and brainstorming, that popsicle came out the ethers from your brain, Lanita. So you was tapping into that ancestral knowledge right there. And I love that. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. And when I say there's some really cool ways to apply these different remedies, I'm telling you, come on, there are some really cool ways, especially with the popsicles. All right, y'all.
Thank y'all so much for hosting. I feel like I've grown so much as an herbalist through the Herbalist Lounge. I really appreciate y'all.
Oh, well, thank you for coming. We always just love your spirit, just being here and participating and just adding to the Herbalist Lounge, because, you know, the things that you share, it helps other people out too. So, and all of us, right? This is a community space. So thank you for saying that.
Most definitely. Thank you, and Kiana, for your energy. It's just, oh, when I think of Kiana, I think of like the most beautiful rainbow, sliding on down into the big pot of gold, goldenrod at that, okay? And dandelion flowers. What? So we learned so much from you as well, like Asia said, like all of us together combined just to do beautiful things. So thank you for those kind words.
And Matthew in the background, like whipped cream, just adding a little bit on the top.
Hey.
Look,
That's
Matthew,
right.
I love you, Matthew, because all I know is I found someone who was just as excited about the cicadas as I was, because I just unwrapped my 2 cicada buddies. And I like the fact that you appreciate the color and just the patterns. And I was like, man, that's my cosmic bro right there. Okay.
So they're pretty interesting, pretty beautiful when you look at them. So
Yes, definitely. Right,
All
guys.
right, y'all, this has been real, but since it's my birthday, we got to go turn up now. So
All right. Well, before we get off of here, so if you're watching this on YouTube and you want to subscribe to our emailing list so that you can get the link right to your inbox when it's time to go on to the Herbalist Lounge, you can just type in herbalist-lounge.mailchimpsites.com, and it will take you there, and you can just put your email address right on in there.
Nice. All right, y'all. So remember, the Herbalist Lounge is every second Monday of the month, 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern. And if you missed it, you can always catch us on our YouTube channel here. So peace, power, and green blessings.
Peace.
peace, peace, peace.